Hey folks, Jim Dunaway from the Next Round. It's time to look back and enjoy a week of Southeastern Conference football as we talk about what we saw in the field. And as always, we're excited to be partnered with our friends at Cowin Equipment. And they'd like to partner up with your company for all your heavy equipment needs. Visit everyone over at Cowin on their website at cowin.com to find out more about how you can save with your heavy equipment solution, from rental and new equipment sales to superior service and parts. It's all right there with our friends at Cowin Equipment. Visit cowin.com. That's cowin.com. Now let's check out the action. Let's start first. Arkansas just they just motorboated Texas, didn't they?
They really did.
They just ran them off the field. It was never close, 16-0 at the half. Could have been worse, and it got worse for Sark in the second half. And there was nothing fancy about what Arkansas did. They ran the ball with, I think it was 4 different running backs, and the quarterback all had 40-plus yards rushing. 4 different guys had a touchdown. They just moved them out of the way.
I will tell you, they're a fun team to watch. And Sam Pittman, it is amazing to believe when he took the job almost a year ago, or made his debut a little over a year ago, they had lost 19 consecutive SEC games. And for them to go 3-7, and we've talked about this, really should have been 5-5 last year. And Texas, which will be coming into this conference maybe next season, as soon as next season, to get completely dominated, 16-0 at half. Hudson Card looked a little lost. We talked about that. If you want to key on one guy on that Sark offense, Bijan Robinson, and they were all over Bijan in that first half. And that is my favorite group of linebackers. Hayden Henry getting the start because Bumper Pool couldn't play in that first half. He had 15 tackles. Grant Morgan had 13 tackles. Bumper Pool playing one half had 10 tackles. Those guys swarm. They get after it. Barry Odom has made a world of difference. The defense gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points last year. They played lights out. I mean, or at least they played with a lot of heart last year, but they still gave up a lot of points. Different defense this year. Arkansas is going to be a tough out.
I think if he ran for governor in Arkansas today, it'd be a unanimous vote. I don't even know who their governor is.
Be unbelievable. Jeremiah on the Pepsi hotline. He's next with us as we get ready for a big game this week. Auburn up in Happy Valley. What's up, Jeremiah?
Good morning, man. Auburn big, guys. Auburn big.
Auburn big in Happy Valley. You're calling it. They're a 7.5-point underdog.
Listen, I don't need the 7. Auburn, listen. Head up, they're gonna beat them. I think it ain't gonna even be close. I just know. This is just me. Maybe I'm drinking the juice, right? Maybe I'm drinking.
But you've got the number one ranked or the number one scoring offense now in college football, the number one scoring defense in college football.
Yeah, that's a pretty good combo.
Yeah, but here's what you like so far, Jeremiah. Right? They were clean the first game. They were sloppy to start the second game. They corrected those problems as they moved. They haven't been tested. But you sort of like the makeup of this team, and this is where you learn what you've got. How good do you think Penn State is, Jeremiah? Do you think Penn State is, I don't know, what are they, number 10 in the country right now? You think they're the 10th best team in the country?
No, I don't even think they top 25, me personally.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I mean,
I don't think they're a top 25 team.
That is just you.
Yeah, but there are little things about this team, and you got a hint of it in preparation, that this was sort of the perfect week for Nick Saban because they played an opponent where they could really, really dominate before they go on the road and get tested in their first SEC game against Florida. But there are things that Nick Saban really wants to clean up, and that especially counts penalties and penalties on special teams.
The one thing you got to have is you got to be able to be disciplined as a player. You got to have discipline as a player. It means the choices and decisions that you make as a football player are legal and you're not getting penalties. And you got to maintain your intensity so that you can have good discipline. And that's how you create the right kind of habits. All right, so we had 5 penalties on special teams last week. I don't know how many we had today. All right, but it's ridiculous. And we got to get it fixed.
He had another good soundbite where he, reckoning. There's a reckoning.
Yeah. Talked about his dinners with the old man.
Boy, his old man drove a hard bargain.
Oh, my gosh. You think he popped that belt?
Yeah. So the reckoning is in practice this week. But if you're an Alabama fan, you're going to play Florida, who you face in the SEC championship. Florida's got some decisions to make. Anthony Richardson pulls up after a long run with a hamstring, which may make the decision easy to go Emory Jones. But Matt Hayes, who I really like a lot, works for Saturday Down South, longtime Sporting News
writer says obviously he doesn't think this year, but he thinks Florida wins a national championship eventually with Anthony Richardson at quarterback.
Well, once he gets more comfortable throwing the football, Anthony Richardson is the prototypical Dan Mullen quarterback, and I think he can be really good too. I just don't think he's ready. I think he's raw right now. And when asked, who's going to start, he basically said yes. I've got two great quarterbacks. Emory Jones will start. We're going to see both of those quarterbacks.
That's what I was going to ask
Alabama.
you. You think we'll still see the rotation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Richardson will be in there because I think he's their biggest threat to actually score right now. Personally, watching that offense, it still seems like a mess. They've played opponents they've been able to just overmatch physically. They don't have that perimeter threat that they had last year.
This is purely my gut talking. I mean, I got no inside information on this, and I'm not trying to pretend I do. My gut tells me Will Anderson plays against Florida.
Oh, you think he plays against Florida?
It's just a gut feeling I got. And again, it is not based on any inside information. I'm not reporting it. I'm not saying somebody has tipped me off on anything. It's just my gut feeling.
Well, if it's 50-50, I think I rest him, and I'm a little cautious on this because I don't think you have to have Will Anderson to
against
actually
Florida. Think of what you're saying.
I know, on the road against Florida.
I know.
But, talking last week on our Bama and Bourbon podcast with Aaron Suttles from The Athletic, talking about the loss of Christopher Allen, he said, look, you never want to lose any of your starters, but if there is one area unit that Alabama has a ton of depth, it is linebacker.
Arkansas is getting all this praise for what they did against Texas, and they deserve every bit of it. To me, I was more impressed by what State did to NC State.
Okay, now, you said this after the show, so I want you to say it here for our live audience, and then I want Lance to listen to him. He's more impressed by what Mississippi State did to NC State.
Because I think, Jim, NC State's a better team than Texas. That's why. I mean, I think there's a chance NC State was the second best team in the ACC, and that ain't saying much. I get it.
I still think we don't know. I think that second best team could end up being Wake Forest.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Clemson's going to get to go through another year of that.
I mean, Pitt took a couple of punches in the jaw and kept bouncing back with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, though, when Hooker took over that they were able to move the football on Pitt like that.
I know. I mean, it looks like Heupel might have made a mistake going with Milton instead of Hooker. We'll see. Luganville was at that game. He'll be on tomorrow.
Back to your point, though, I think NC State, Texas, neutral site's probably a pick.
It probably is. NC State shut them down. And I know Arkansas shut down Texas, too. I think a lot of people are getting caught up on name brand there because it's Texas. I was more impressed by what NC State. And look, I'm not trying to take anything away from Arkansas. I was super impressed by what they did.
What Mississippi State did to
NC
NC
what
State.
Mississippi State did to NC State.
I was more impressed with Arkansas, but I don't have a problem with that. Mississippi State is going to be Jekyll and Hyde all season. I think what you saw against Louisiana Tech defines how they will be this year. No one expected them to win that game on Saturday. They dominated that game. That game was never in doubt.
Yeah, I mean, they returned the opening kickoff, and it was over. I mean, NC State had that one drive down, and State intercepted them in the end zone. And, I mean that was NC State's shot in the whole game.
And I still think Mississippi State's probably a 6-6 team. I don't know how you guys feel. 7-5?
No way of telling right now. The way the defense played and that offense is going to be up and down, like you said. But that was the defense we thought we were going to get from Mississippi State from the get-go. They gave up a lot early to La Tech. A big win over NC State this past weekend, 24-10. Vandy got a good road win for the SEC, beating a Colorado State team 24-21. Good for Clark Lee bouncing back from that. And good for Shane Beamer in South Carolina, 20-17. Last-second field goal there as the Gamecocks stay unbeaten. Problem now, they play Georgia, and they play Georgia in Athens.
They do, and they're a massive dog.
And they are 32-point underdogs.
Breaking news in the Southeastern Conference.
Good or bad?
What is it?
It is bad if your name is Ed Orgeron and if you're an LSU player or LSU fan, excuse me.
Oh, no.
Running back John Emery Jr. is academically ineligible for the remainder of the season, according to Ed Orgeron.
Wow, makes you wonder if he was eligible to play in that first game or the first few games. So he's academically out.
He's done. He's done for the season. So it goes from
Well, they can't run the football.
no, they really can't. And John Emery Jr. is not going to be doing it anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll be honest with you, they couldn't.
But he hasn't played this year, so I guess that's why
he hasn't played yet. Okay, that's good. That's
Yep.
good.
Ty-
They were having trouble running the football, I guess, without him. So we'll see if they can.
Corey
can get it
Kiner
fixed.
kid is going to be the guy they're going to lean on. Davis Price has got the experience, but Kiner is the freshman, and it looks like it's it's either him or they're going to have some serious problems.
They've got trouble running the football, and it's not going to be John Emery Jr. the rest of the year.
Yeah, so that's trouble for Coach O as well. All right, UAB and Georgia this past weekend. The Blazers did not put their best foot forward in this game right here. Stetson Bennett III threw 5 touchdown passes. What was it, only 12 attempts in the game?
We talked about 20 attempts, 5 touchdowns yesterday for Jameis Winston. Even better, 10 for 12, 288, 5. And I forgot which one of you guys on our text thread said they're making Stetson Bennett look like Tom Brady. That was one of the most.
Forrester said that.
It was a good line. One of the most embarrassing performances, I'll say, in UAB football history.
But it just shows you the path. Like, Auburn fans, Pistachio earlier saying, boy, if Bo gets it right and they win this weekend, it could be 2004 or 2013 all over again. Well, I mean, you're going to get, not only this weekend, you'll get 5 more cracks at having impressive wins as well. And yes, you could get that type of year going. But boy, the challenge of the schedules that Auburn, Alabama, Arkansas, A&M, Ole Miss have to play is monumental compared to Oregon and Oklahoma.
Well, that's what. I mean, if you look at, if Oregon, Oklahoma, even Clemson and Ohio State had the same schedule as Auburn, they're probably at least 2 losses, maybe 3 this year.